Hello everyone and welcome. This week's project is a maple burl. It's about 3.5 by 7. And you saw me checking it there with the moisture meter. And now I am finding center. And I'll be using a woodworm screw, so I'm drilling a hole for that. This burl was really harder than normal maple, which it usually is. I just found this one particularly hard. Securing the woodworm screw and attaching the blank to that. Then I'll be pulling up the tailstock and truing it up. And you can even see it's out of balance there. It looks like I'm tapping the gouge on it on purpose, but I was just holding it there to see how out of balance it was. It only took a few passes here to get it in balance. And then I removed the tailstock and started working on the bottom of the bowl. Using the bowl gouge to flatten out the bottom and establish the area of the mortise or foot. I changed my mind sort of midway through on the mortise/foot. You'll see what I mean here in a couple minutes, but here I am marking for the mortise part of the foot. And using the skew chisel to make sure that the mortise is flat. And then start working on the curve on the bottom/side. Changing tool rest. This is the robust curve to tool rest. I'll have a link to everything I use in the video description if you're interested. Starting to sand with 80 grit. I sanded from 80 all the way up to 400. De-nibbing it before I start with the coloring. And this is black from the Intrinsic Color Collection by Hampshire Sheen. If you've watched any past videos, you've seen that I've used it before. And after applying the black, what I do is sand the majority of it off, not all of it, but quite a bit of it, as you can see. And then I start with the other colors that I want to use. I know some people get really upset about putting any color on wood, but I think sometimes it calls for it. So this is the color Ruby, again from the Intrinsic Color Collection. I'll link that in the video description as well. So no real science here, just kind of blobbing it on, making sure that I cover at least most of it, and then sanding some of it back in areas. And you'll notice that I'm sanding less of this off than I did of the black. Sanding, I start using Honey is the name of the next color. Sort of layering different colors in, colors that I think go together for a certain look. And I know it doesn't look much right now, but It will. Some of you are probably scared as you're looking at this, like, what is she doing? Now's the color Ruby, or again with Ruby. No, I haven't lost my mind, I promise. I've done this coloring many times, and sometimes I get to this part and I turn and or sand it all off and start over. I did not with this one, however, but it does happen. Now the argument is that, you know, this is a burl, and would it have looked fine without any color? Yes, of course. It's a burl. It's maple burl. It's very beautiful. I just tend to like to highlight the grain and the grain patterns once in a while, not all the time. And as you can see, I sanded different spots off on one big spot there on the right of the screen. A little bit of denatured alcohol to clean the surface before I start using color again. Now using another color called Flame. And I'm not putting the flame, you know, wiping it on over all of it, but just in spots. And then I'll blend everything together. Or at least that's the idea. Again, it looks very messy and, you know, unthought through, but it'll come together. More honey. And I'll stop talking for a couple minutes. The next few clips are just adding some color, taking some color off, and figuring out how everything should go together. Trying some Danish oil. I'm not sure if this was the best idea over the Hampshire sheen, but it seemed to work out okay. I wasn't sure when I started how it would do, but it seemed to do just fine. I ended up using 2 coats of the Danish oil, and I did sand it lightly in between. Taking off of the woodworm screw here, and I'll be putting it in expansion mode in the chuck, holding it in there with the mortise, and I will start hollowing it out here. Again, using the bowl gouge, just going slow at first to make sure it's stable on the chuck. Right now it's at about 650, but I do speed it up here in a minute to around 1100. And this is absolutely one of the times that I wish I had a coring system to core out another bowl from this. It was really difficult to just make all this burl turn into sawdust and chips. A little bit of a close-up shot here. I wanted to mention that this bowl will be available on my Etsy page. If you go to Etsy, you'll find my page at PF Woodturning Co. The link to my Etsy page is in the video description. I also wanted to take a minute to give a big thank you and a shout out to my patrons, to Jerry, Dave, Robert, and Khalid. Thank you so much. I don't have permission to share last names, so I hope you know who you are. If you're interested in supporting PF Woodturning, there's a link to my Patreon page in the channel dashboard. You'll see some icons to the right of the banner. Or you can go to Patreon and search for PF Woodturning. Anyway, thanks so much. So after most of the hollowing is done, I'm just taking my time here to get the thickness to where I want it, and making sure that the curves from the side to the bottom are aesthetically pleasing. I always sort of tend to obsess over that, or maybe work on it for too long and overthink it. That's why you'll see me feeling the bowl a lot. Denibbing it here before applying some sanding sealer. Using the Axe abrasive paste. Rubbing it in and then buffing it off, and it just gives it a lovely sheen, sort of like you've sanded up to 3000 or something. There is a link to the Axe abrasive paste and polishing paste in the video description. And if you use code PF10, you'll get 10% off your order. And I promise it's great stuff. I use it in almost all my projects. And this is the polishing paste, my favorite part. You can already see it shining just before even buffing it in or out. And the Axe products are just really easy to use, which is one of the reasons I love it. It's not complicated. You don't have to wait 20 minutes in between. You don't have to forget the directions. You just use it. Look at the grain in that. Look at the grain. Wow. Giving the camera a close-up here. I just can't say enough about the grain. Hey, if you've liked this video or you like this kind of thing, please don't forget to subscribe. It really helps me create more content. Please leave a thumbs up and hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload a new video. Using the branding iron here to imprint the logo. And then I'll put some sanding sealer over it. So, thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, click that subscribe button. Thank you in advance, and until next week, peace out.